Okay, I'm delighted to welcome back Galway United legends to the show, Johnny Glynn. Johnny, we spoke to you a few weeks ago after the passing of Jack Charlton. Never in a million years would I have thought that we'd be speaking to you in such circumstances. How are you? More importantly, how is Ellen? How is Sara?
Hi, Owen, is it?
Yes, sorry, it's Owen here, Johnny.
Sorry, Owen, yeah. Great. Well, we're all great today now. Ellen and Sara are recovering. I'm sure it'll take a long time. We're all recovering, really. It's been a traumatic, as you can imagine, 36 hours for us all, from Wednesday evening till yesterday evening. I couldn't tell you now what day it is today. We're just delighted that Ellen and Sara are both safe and well. It's a miracle, really. I mean, I wasn't hopeful when I got the news yesterday. I wasn't hopeful at that stage.
So was it yesterday when you find out? Is it Wednesday night when the alarm is raised for you personally?
Yeah. Wednesday I came home from training, and Ellen was going out the door. Her auntie Helen and her cousin Sara were outside waiting for her. So we passed at the doorway. I just wanted to watch a bit of football, actually, the Champions League match. I knew it was 1-0 to Atalanta, and I wanted to see the last bit of that if I could. And Ellen went, and a while afterwards, my wife left. I could hear her driving out at the front, and she left without saying anything, which is unusual. And then I had a couple of missed calls from Deirdre, my wife, and I called her back and she said, "Look, you better come out, because Ellen and Sara the tide has taken them out, or the wind, actually. It was taking them out." So I was obviously in panic mode then at that stage, and I headed out to Furbo Beach. They wouldn't normally go to Furbo, but Silverstrand was closed because of COVID, and they always go to Rushing Bay or Silverstrand. They're right beside us. So they decided to go to Furbo Beach, because that's a bit further out, but they hadn't ever paddleboarded there before. So, the alarm bells are ringing then, obviously, as I'm driving out in the car. And when I got there, it was actually quite getting dark at that stage. We couldn't see anything into the water, bar 50 yards, and no sign of them. And it was quiet, really, because Helen, that's Sarah's mum, had phoned the Coast Guard and to try and arrange a helicopter. They said they get a boat out straight away, and the helicopter that wasn't mentioned at that stage. So, look, then in the next hour or two, we're just waiting there at the beach and calling out their names, and and obviously as the minutes are ticking away, that these minutes are vital when that for action straight away. So, eventually, the helicopter arrived. We could see a helicopter, we could see boats in the distance with their lights. I phoned a friend of mine, Johnny Glynn, who works in the Doolin ferries. He's the only one I knew on the opposite side, on the Clare side, if you like, that would maybe be able to help me. And Donny was able to see on his satellite. He could see boats. He could tell me there was boats on the way. He could tell me there was a helicopter on the way. The guards were very helpful. At that stage, with the guards were there, and they were on top of it. Garda Prather Ryan is a friend of mine here in Galway. He had arrived as well, because I called him, and he was coordinating that side of it. Then it's nearly midnight. Then we were there, and it's 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock. We're still there, standing on the beach, and then I decided that I'm going to head for County Clare. So we had to obviously go to the opposite side, because the wind was still, let me see now, north. Whatever, but the wind was pushing them towards Clare, and I didn't know where in Clare I was looking at exactly, but Johnny Glynn said as well as Ballyvaughan is roughly opposite Furbo Beach. So myself and Deirdre, my wife, decided at I think around 2 to head to County Clare to be there for first light. So we got down there around 3, and we started at Ballyvaughan, and we waited. We had to wait for first light. We started at Ballyvaughan, and then we just worked our way up the coastline there. And at that stage, there were some people out helping. There were Clare people who obviously had heard this. Now, at this stage, we like Deirdre's, Ellen's sisters didn't know anything, her grandparents didn't know anything because it happened so late in the evening. So there wasn't that many really that knew first thing on yesterday morning, Thursday morning. So we had planned then to be back in Galway for when Ellen's sisters, she has 3 younger sisters, Hannah, Alice and Clara, when they woke up, that we were there because they didn't know anything, to tell them the news, or that was obviously going to be very, very difficult. So we were home by 9:30, and in the meantime I had used my own phone contacts through football to get people in Clare, in Kinvara, in Oranmore, and various parts of the Galway side, to try and get groups together of people to go out searching, because I knew from first light till dark last night was the only real time we had left, and as the hours go by, it gets tougher and tougher. And so many people then started getting involved yesterday and helping out that it made, we couldn't believe that. Look, Deirdre has a lot of sisters and who knew a lot of people, and they were all got people out helping from, back in Rossaville all the way into Oranmore and Galway, and on the Clare side as well. Everyone was looking. Yeah. But we then were at home with the kids, and we said, well, what are we going to do here? We said, well, we have to go searching ourselves. And we were just leaving the house, and the priest arrived, the local priest, Father Michael. And I suppose I'm thinking, oh no, when the priest comes to the house, it's always a bad sign. But he just wanted to talk to us, and we then headed back to Furbo, where it all started, because we wanted to bring Ellen's sisters out there, and we were just going to have a little search party ourselves. And we were, I don't know, was it 11 o'clock when we left the house, and we were searching Furbo coastline. And at that stage, I had, like, Deirdre was very, very, very confident all through Wednesday night, and even Thursday morning. She was, because Ellen is really strong-minded, and she's very resourceful, and so is Sarah. The two of them are big friends since they were very young. So Deirdre remained very confident, but at this stage, I just really wanted to find them, and then my phone rang, and it was Johnny Glynn again, actually, and I thought he was ringing me to give me to ask me how things were. And he says, Johnny, the girls are safe. And I said, honestly, I couldn't, because I was resigned at that stage that they couldn't possibly have survived that long. Like, where could they have been that long and to be still alive? So it was such an incredible moment for us all. My Deirdre was there when I got the call, and the kids were there, and there was a few people helping out, looking along the Furbo coastline. And from there, then I wanted, where are they, and how are we going to get to see them? And we had no idea how they were rescued until we saw the news on television. We didn't know how. Well, we actually met Ellen then and Sarah back in the hospital in Galway, and we got to talk to them. And Ellen was telling me the story, and that these guys, she just described, these guys came along in a boat, and these are obviously the lads, the father and son team in Galway were forever. We haven't got to meet them yet. Right. But and Ellen was telling me that I was asking her what happened. How did you? He said, well, they tied the paddle boards together. So how do you do that? They were fighting against. She said, we were fighting against the wind, and we couldn't get back closer to Galway, but we could hold where we were, our ground, but they couldn't actually get any closer. So then they tied the paddle boards together. And I said, well, what about the helicopters when they came? Were they far from me? And she says, no, they were really close. They were actually only maybe 50 or 100 metres from them when the helicopters we could see the helicopter hovering over one area when we were at Furbo, and we thought they had them, or one of them. We didn't know, but obviously they hadn't found either of them. So when that happened, then they had to spend the whole night out there, and it was a rough night. As you know, it was a really rough night with very heavy rain and thunder and lightning. And look, I don't know, Owen. What it's probably too soon to be talking to me here, because I'm probably still in some sort of shock, I'd say, as to what happened. But when I was at home yesterday with my daughters, telling them the news, we're thinking like, we'll never see Ellen. She'd never be in the house again. That was really tough for us all.
I presume that's the conversation that you're having when you have to wake up Ellen's sisters that morning, when you say you needed to be back home at a certain point. How did they react? How difficult was that conversation to have yesterday morning?
Oh, well, so Hannah is 14, Alice is 12, and Clara is 9. So we just sat them down on the bed, and both of us did the most of talking, I suppose, and we tried to explain to them that they were missing, and that the loads of people were out looking for them, and they were quite silent and in shock, and then they got very, really upset. But that's really, really tough. It's a tough moment in your life if you go through something like that at such a young age. It's something that can have an awful effect on you for a long, long time, obviously, and you won't forget. But then to be able to turn that around a few hours later, thanks to everybody, I'm just so grateful to everyone that helped. The men that so when we met Ellen and Sarah in the hospital, they were in these little hats, and I have one of them here. So I said, "Where did you get the hat?" She said, "The boys that picked us up." She didn't call them fishermen. I was just the two lads, the father and son team, who had picked them up, and we have the hat here in the house. She was trying to describe to me. I said, well, they ended up at the Cliffs of Moher. That's where they, maybe when in the morning when it got bright, they could see the Cliffs of Moher and they could see the Aran Islands, and they made a decision to try and get from the Cliffs of Moher to the Aran Islands. And in between that then is kind of the open sea to the Atlantic Ocean. So, that's going to be a tough task to get across that passage. And she said the waves were really big. And she said they were looking out for a boy, like a boy to cling on to. And she said there was no boys anywhere. And then she says, out of nowhere, she said, there's these two boys, the life boys, but they were lobster pots or something. They clinged onto two of those. And when the lads found them, Sarah saw a boat in the distance. Now, they could see loads of boats in the distance, and they could see a helicopter in the distance, but they couldn't figure out, or no one could see them, which you can imagine at that stage how tough that was. And when the lads in the boat eventually came for them, it was a brilliant. Obviously, that was just the moment that they were going to be safe, and for two lads in Galway City, to father and son, I think I heard that these boys they just headed out and they knew exactly where they were going, and they found the area where the paddle boards had ended up, and I still haven't met them, but hopefully we'll meet them today or tomorrow to thank them. And that's all I can say at the moment.
God, yeah, it's incredible. Like, even just watching the news reports and seeing the two lads talk, like, the young fella apparently is the fella who spotted the two girls, and they kind of went out. But it's just incredibly terrifying, the picture you paint there of being out on the paddle boards and seeing the helicopters go overhead, and eventually when that silence comes again, when the helicopters are gone. It's incredible. Just before we let you go, is there any way you can put into words what you're thinking that night, even when the darkness is starting to descend and you're looking out?
Yeah, I was just thinking the most important thing for me was they were together. So please be together. So obviously tying the paddleboards together was a really good idea. I don't know how they did it now, but being together. So no matter what happens, they're going to be together. I mean, being split up makes that task so much harder. So I just said, I was please. I just kept saying, keep them together. So that's what I was thinking, and and Deirdre as well. And we're just so grateful now to everyone, the operation in Galway. There's so many people that just put so much effort into in all the different communities, sporting communities and all the other communities throughout both coastlines out. And then for everybody to get the good news was a boost for everybody. I think that's the message I've been getting, that it's been such a boost to everybody at really tough times we're going through at the moment.
Yeah.
We're very grateful. And, you know, in terms of the water safety, I couldn't emphasise enough the importance of safety and how quickly you can be gone, just for parents and boys and girls to be so careful, no matter what they're on the water, whether it be a boat or paddleboard or whatever else, that, you know, to be very, very careful.
100%, and the work that the RNLI do, incredible, and like what a story this is. As a national story, it's one of the most incredible we've seen in recent times. Like, as you say, it's very hard to process it at this juncture, but that moment when you tell your wife, or when you see your wife and your other kids and their reaction at the time, have you processed how they reacted when they heard the good news at the end of the day? Well,
they were jumping for joy. They were crying. They were they were hugging each other, and it was just, I'd say maybe for them, maybe they were expecting them to be found. I'd say the children were the sisters were. I think Deirdre maybe had still felt that they could be found. I really had hope just to find them. I just wanted to find them at that stage. I thought, how could they be still alive now? How could they have survived that, the night and everything that went with it? Where are they? I mean, if they're out there alive, where could they possibly be? That's what I couldn't figure out. So it's just amazing, really.
Yeah, it's remarkable. It's remarkable that there was such confidence there, and it's remarkable that everybody in that community pulled together to actually make this what will hopefully in time become a really good story for you, Johnny, and that you will recover from this, and that I guess you'll be able to process everything that's happened. Listen, very best of luck on the next couple of days. Pass on our very best to Ellen and to Sarah and to all the family. It must have been an incredibly tough few days, and we really appreciate you making time for us this morning, Johnny.
Thanks, Owen. Thank you. Thank you, Owen.
Johnny Glynn there, Galway United legend. Just one of the most insane stories we've seen, and thankfully, a good news, a good ending to the story at the very least.